Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Lady from Burma by Allison Montclair, narrated by Polly Lee. Prologue. He sat on the edge of the narrow bed, reaching for the black wool socks he had stuffed into his shoes. She watched him, still stretched out languorously on her left side. "You surprised me," she said. "Did I?" he replied with a slight smile. "Several times, in fact." "Which was the first?" he asked, pulling his socks on. "That you chose me out of all the girls in the pub," she said. "There were prettier ones there." "Ah, but they were all good girls, weren't they?" "I'm sure there were one or two who might have given even an older gent like you the time of day," she said. "I wasn't talking about that," he said, patting her sheet-covered hip in a manner that she was starting to see as proprietary. "There are plenty of good girls who will hop into someone's bed for the fun of it, and thank God for them. But I've had my eye on you for some time now." "Have you?" she asked suspiciously. "Why?" He looked around the small, single room, with its single bed, tiny bureau and freestanding wardrobe. "You'd like to do better than this," he said. It wasn't a question. "It would be hard to do worse," she replied. "How would you like to make some real money? Something that will give you what you want from the world, but only if you're bold enough to seize it." "Doing this," she said with a laugh. "I haven't sunk that low yet." "Not doing this," he said, "but doing something a good girl wouldn't do." "I'm listening." "I have a particular scheme in mind," he said. "I think you could make it work." "Legal?" "My schemes are frequently illegal, generally immoral, and occasionally downright wicked," he said. "But they're lucrative." "I don't want anyone to get hurt," she said. "No one will get hurt physically," he said. "Financially, of course. That's the whole point. But there is a time limit on when this can happen." "What would I have to do?" she asked. "Whatever I tell you to," he said. "I won't go into details yet, but I think you're the right girl for the job." He put on his suit jacket, then pulled a wedding ring out of one pocket and slipped it onto his finger. "So this was a test," she said, looking at it without surprise. "You wanted to see how far I'd go?" "Oh, you'll go far, my girl," he said, grinning at her wolfishly. "Are you interested?" "All right," she said. "What happens next?" He reached inside his pocket and pulled out a light green advert. "How would you feel about getting married?" he asked, handing it to her. She glanced at the top, where large letters spelled out, "The Right Sort Marriage Bureau." "Sure," she said. "Why not?" Chapter 1. "Have you kissed him yet? That's none of your business." The questioner was a short, intense brunette in her late 20s named Iris Sparks, co-proprietor of the Right Sort Marriage Bureau. The respondent, if the refusal to provide any actual information in her response could be characterized as a response, was Mrs. Gwendolen Bainbridge, the other co-proprietor, a tall, elegant blonde. The two of them were returning to their Mayfair office from lunch on a cold, rainy day in November, and Iris's curiosity was eating at her. "It's very much my business," she said. "My two best friends have started dating each other, in part because of my efforts to bring them together." "You can't have two best friends," Gwendolen pointed out. "Fine. My best female friend is now dating my best male friend. Which of us do you like more?" "That's not a fair question. Oh, and prying into my love life is—" "Aha! You said love!" solely as a hypothetical description. Each of them, to the casual observer, particularly to the casual male observer, was striking. But the pair of them, with their sharp difference in height, were doubly so. Adding to the overall picture was their animation in conversation while simultaneously taking in the world around them, Gwen almost compulsively observing details of the expressions of the people they passed by, a habit left over from her time in the sanatorium. Iris, as always, on the lookout for potential attackers, a habit left over from her time in military intelligence during the war. If the casual male observer were to meet those gazes, he would quickly look away from the intensity of the combined scrutiny and move on, though not without casting one regretful backward glance of admiration. "Still, it's hypothetically more than you were willing to call it last month," continued Iris. "So, have you kissed him yet? Or, allowing for him to have taken the initiative, has he kissed you? What has he told you?" "Sally won't say a word. He's being a perfect gentleman about it." "Then why should I be any different?" "Because we are women," said Iris, "and women are required to discuss matters of the heart with their closest female friends." "Who made that rule?" "We did. The secret society of women who are still dating. You must have missed that meeting." "Was it a close vote?" "Not at all. So spill it, sister, or I shall be forced to write you up for a violation." They turned off Oxford Street, heading towards the office building that contained the right sort in 2 rooms on the top story. The lot just before it contained the steel framework of another office building being constructed on what had been a pile of rubble left when a doodle-bug buzzed its way through a bevy of barrage balloons to land smack in the middle of Mayfair. When they had first opened their office, the rubble next door was still there, as it was in the lots on the other side and to the rear of their building. One crew began clearing it in mid-May, then another arrived in September to excavate a large rectangular hole. When they were done, the steel men came on the scene. They were a cheery bunch, happy to be putting up an ordinary office framework rather than building battleships or assembling barracks and hangars across the country. Now they were gone, and several enormous stacks of bricks on pallets had been brought in on lorries and forklifted onto the muddy grounds surrounding the building to be, awaiting the hods and trowels. The 2 women stopped to examine the site, which was notable for its lack of activity. "There is a distinct absence of bricklaying happening right now," observed Gwen. "Do they take their tea earlier than the rest of us?" "There was a lightning strike by the bricklayers this morning," said Iris. "Someone got fired without cause, or hired without joining the union, I'm not sure which, but the shop steward sent everyone home until it's resolved, so it will be quieter on the street today for a change." "I'm going to miss the steel workers," said Gwen. "They had a party over at the Five Hats to celebrate the end of the job. They invited me to join them, would you believe it?" "Oh, you should have come," said Iris. "It was great fun." "You went?" "I did." "Why?" "They asked me. They had all been paid, and who am I to turn down a free drink from some well-muscled gents?" "Does Archie know?" "He does not." "Is that a good thing?" asked Gwen, sounding worried. "When one is dating a gangster, straying from the fold could be troublesome." "We're not exactly—" Iris started. Then she hesitated. "What?" prompted Gwen. "Exclusive." "You're not?" "No." "Does Archie know that?" "Well, Wait, we were talking about your love life. How did we end up talking about mine?" "Because you actually have one." "But you and Sally are dating." "Sally and I have gone out a few times since you cleverly abandoned us after that play." But I cannot commit to anyone right now, as you very well know. I cannot even commit to the word dating." "Does Sally know that?" "Sally knows that I can't get seriously involved until my custody situation is resolved, and that won't be resolved until my petition before the Court of Lunacy is granted." They opened the door to their building and began their second ascent of the day. "What about frivolous involvement?" persisted Iris. "Has it occurred to you that even if I wished to discuss kissing Sally—" "So you did kiss him?" "Whether I did or not," continued Gwen, ignoring her, "that you, being someone who has kissed Sally in the past, would not be the person with whom I would choose to discuss it." "That was in a play," protested Iris. "That doesn't count as a real kiss." "A play he wrote," said Gwen. "Well, yes, but wrote with you in mind, as the leading lady." "That is also true, but—" "And himself as the leading man." "Look, I see where you're going with this, but all for the express purpose of kissing you." "Yes, Sally had a crush on me when we were at Cambridge," said Iris in exasperation, "which I left unrequited, apart from the theatrical sublimation, possibly a mistake on my part." "My turn for the aha." "There was no aha for us," said Iris. "He evolved from a suitor to a friend, and we are both the better for it." "How was the kiss?" asked Gwen. "In the play?" "Awkwardly staged, as you might well imagine," said Iris, grinning at the memory. "When the lovers are separated not only by dramatic circumstances, but by nearly 2 feet in height, there is no natural angle where it could work comfortably. He had to write a stepladder into the plot, and we had to struggle to keep from laughing when the moment came up. That's another reason why you have the advantage here, you Amazon. You don't need any props with him. There, I've shared my story of kissing Sally. Your turn now." "I refuse." "Don't make me resort to stronger measures," said Iris, with an evil glint in her eyes. "Iris, I appreciate your trying to distract me when I have the hearing coming up so soon," said Gwen, "but it isn't necessary. Trust me, I'm fine." She wasn't fine. She had tried to ward off panicky thoughts about the hearing while struggling through the day-to-day existence of keeping their new business from going under, while at the same time working with Dr. Milford, her psychiatrist, to learn how to manage the terrors and the bouts of depression that had sent her first to hospital, where they treated the self-inflicted wounds on her body, then to the sanatorium, where they treated the wounds the world had inflicted on her mind. But she had been out for 2 years now. She had done the work. She had progressed sufficiently for Dr. Milford to approve the appointment with Mr. Stronach, her lawyer. It was nearing the end of the vacation court term when she met with him, but that was over a month ago, and the Court of Lunacy was now open for business, along with the rest of the courts, for the Michaelmas term. Every day her petition date drew nearer, and the tension of the wait was agonizing. The courts had opened in mid-October, with the full ceremony for the first time since before the war. Gwen, at Iris's insistence, had allowed herself to be dragged out to see the procession after all the judges attended Red Mass at Westminster Cathedral and the Lord High Chancellor's breakfast at the Royal Gallery. The 2 women established themselves with a good viewpoint on the Strand as the group of elderly men in wigs strode by with an air of deep importance, tempered by the relief that they could do this again without fear of bombs and bullets. They were led by the tipstaff, a ceremonial bailiff carrying an enormous ebony staff, bound with silver bands and topped with a silver crown. 2 more bailiffs followed, one with the mace of state, the other with the purse of state, a giant square embroidered affair with gold tassels tipped in red dangling from it. "What's in the purse of state?" wondered Gwen. "Are there a lipstick and compact of state inside?" "Mad money for the cab ride home," suggested Iris. "Here comes Jowett. Hooray for the Lord High Chancellor!" Even a Labour Party man can wear the fancy robes, and he wears them well. Baron William Jowett, Lord High Chancellor, P.C.K.C., a stern man in his 60s, walked past in full regalia, maintaining his impeccable dignity under an extravagant gown of black damask, laced with gold, and a long white wig that looked like it weighed more than the mace and staff that preceded it. The very important legal legs carrying this assemblage were clad in black silk stockings and terminated in a pair of silver-buckled patent leather court shoes. "He could stand for some rouge and powder with that outfit," said Gwen. "It completely washes him out." "I bet he got his stockings without using any coupons," commented Iris. "I've got the Lord Chancellor's song from Iolanthe stuck in my head now," said Gwen. "When you're lying awake with a dismal headache, and repose is tabooed by anxiety," Iris sang. "I wonder if he's required to learn the whole thing as part of his duties. That would take an impressive legal mind." Jowett was accompanied by other gaudily dressed Lords Justice, followed by the Lord Chief Justice, leading the judges of Chancery, the King's Bench, and the various divisions. These wore robes of scarlet and ermine, with silk breeches and stockings, and full-bodied wigs, to a man. To think that a man who wears a wig that length and a costume 2 centuries out of date in public gets to be the one to decide whether I'm sane or not, said Gwen. "I think you're sane," said Iris. "You, being crazy, are not in a position to judge," said Gwen. "There is some truth to that," admitted Iris. "We're all mad here." They watched as the collected judiciary marched in coordinated solemnity to the royal courts of justice. The courts had opened, thought Gwen as they neared the 4th floor. The thing that had to happen before anything else could happen had happened, and now she was walking barefoot over the hot coals of her anxieties, knowing the courts had to declare her sane again at last, because it would be a disaster if they didn't. For her, and for Ronnie, her son. But what if they denied her petition? That was the nagging, irrational thought that made her look longingly at her dwindling supply of veronal each night, despite her determination to wean herself from it completely by the date she had to appear before the master in lunacy. "I'm going to have to be away several times over the next week or so," she said as she unlocked the door to their office. "I need to meet with my barrister and my guardian." "How long will the court appearance take?" asked Iris. "It depends on the master," said Gwen. "If he accepts the petition on papers, then only a day. But if he wants to conduct a hearing, who knows? I'll have to testify." "Would you like me to come?" Iris asked. "I'd be happy to cheer you on from the gallery." "No, we should keep things running as smoothly as we can here," said Gwen. "I may have to do some testifying myself," said Iris. "The criminal terms have also begun. They want me for the LaSalle murder trial. I'm surprised they didn't ask you for that one, given everything you did." "Iris, I'm still a lunatic in the eyes of the law," said Gwen softly. "I can't be sworn in as a competent witness." "And it's a good thing we're a team," said Iris. "Yes, it is," said Gwen. "Hang on, what's that commotion coming from Saundra's office?" A man had his voice raised. They could hear Mrs. Billington, their secretary receptionist, responding in tones meant to placate him, but sounding increasingly desperate. and the voice of another woman interceding ineffectively. "Right. We'll go in hard and fast," said Iris. "I'll take him down at the knees, and you—" "Let's find out what the situation is before we resort to full-on combat," suggested Gwen. "You're no fun," muttered Iris. They came to Saundra's office. The door was open, revealing a man wearing an ill-fitted grey tweed jacket, missing a button at the left cuff, the other barely holding on as he pounded his fist on their beleaguered employee's desk. "It says 9 to 5, he was shouting, shoving one of their adverts in her face. "It says walk-in appointments available, yet we have walked in, not just walked in, but climbed 4 bloody flights of steps which were not mentioned in the advert, and I can see why, but here we are, and the ladies aren't around." "Dad, please," said a young woman, tugging on his sleeve. "This is embarrassing. We can come back, I promise." "How am I supposed to get this one out of my hair and out of my house when the ladies aren't here for the walk-ins?" he continued. "It's unprofessional is what it is." "The ladies are back," announced Mrs. Bainbridge from the doorway. "Forgive us if we've made you wait, but even professionals have to eat lunch if they're going to work effectively." "I get quite cranky if I miss my midday meal," added Sparks. "And you don't want me matching people when I'm cranky. How do you do? I am Miss Sparks, and this is my partner, Mrs. Bainbridge. How may we be of service to you today?" He turned to them. His face was red from shouting, and his eyes bloodshot. He looked later 40s or early 50s, thought Gwen, but could have been slightly younger. The drinking had taken its toll, no doubt. The daughter looked to be in her early 20s, a blonde in clothes that had seen their share of use and repair, thin, understandably nervous. Gwen wondered what she looked like when she wasn't in distress. She wondered what she looked like when she smiled. She wondered when that last happened. "It's £5, right?" asked the father, his tone still belligerent. £5, and you'll get rid of her." "You can't say things like that in front of people," said the woman, practically in tears. "We don't get rid of people," said Mrs. Bainbridge. "We attempt to find them compatible, loving partners for life, for which effort we charge an initial fee of £5. "Initial fee, and then you get the big payoff when they tie the knot," he said. "There is a final payment of £20 per client if we are successful," said Mrs. Bainbridge, "but only then." "How long does it take?" demanded the man. "That depends on the individual," said Sparks. "We can guarantee neither results nor timing." "Say I make it £10, he said. "Would you move her to the front of the queue?" "There is no queue," said Mrs. Bainbridge, suppressing her irritation. "We would get to work right away with any new person, but the matching process is happening more or less simultaneously with all of our clientele. It's a continuing process." "Then you better get it started," he said. "Where do we go?" "We conduct the interview in our office next door," said Mrs. Bainbridge. "Right," he said, stepping towards them. "And you stay here," said Sparks, holding her hand up. "She's my daughter," he said, bristling again. "You aren't the one signing the contract. She is of age, so she will enter into this agreement voluntarily or not at all. That will be for her to decide, not you." The daughter, from her safe vantage behind him, shot them a look of gratitude. The father stared back and forth at the two partners with fury and disbelief, but they returned his look with steadiness and calm. Forced steadiness and calm, but it sufficed. After a few seconds he disengaged, taking a step back under the combined glares of the two women. "Please come with us, Miss... we have yet to learn your name, haven't we?" said Mrs. Bainbridge, beckoning to the woman. "It's Colette," she said, stepping gingerly past her father. "Colette Forsberg." "Then please come with us, Miss Forsberg." "It better be Mrs. Something Else when you come back," her father called after her. "Sit, you," commanded Sparks, pointing at the sofa. "Read a magazine. Do not bother Mrs. Billington. We will be back in due course." She followed Mrs. Bainbridge and Miss Forsberg into the office next door. Miss Forsberg collapsed onto one of the guest chairs, while the two partners took their accustomed seats behind their desks. "I'm so sorry for his behaviour," said Miss Forsberg. "You have no idea what it's like living with him." "I think we've just had a taste," said Mrs. Bainbridge. "It must be difficult." "I'm at my wits' end," said Miss Forsberg. "Those little file boxes there, are those where you keep all the men?" "Our secret trove of bachelors," said Sparks with a laugh, patting the small green box on her desk marked M. "Every index card a potential groom. I've been imagining you opening it, and out one will pop, like a genie from the lamp, top hat, tails, carnation and all," said Miss Forsberg. "Well, that's not how a genie would dress, I suppose." "It would depend upon your wish," said Mrs. Bainbridge. "I'll tell you what," said Miss Forsberg. "Take those cards, toss 'em in the air, and I'll marry the first one that lands. I am that desperate." "We are slightly more scientific in our methods than that," said Mrs. Bainbridge. "Did Mrs. Billington explain the process to you?" "Yes," said Miss Forsberg, opening her purse. "Dad gave me the £5, and there is a contract to sign?" "Of course," said Sparks, sliding one to the front of her desk, with a pen next to it. "Press hard. There's a carbon." Miss Forsberg leaned forward in her chair to sign, then Sparks took the £5, countersigned, and gave her the carbon. "Now, let's all take a deep breath," suggested Mrs. Bainbridge. They did. "There. Much better. Tell us about yourself, Miss Forsberg." "Not much to tell, really," she said, looking down. "We live in Woolwich. You know Woolwich?" "No," said Mrs. Bainbridge. "Yes, but not well," said Sparks. "Do you know the Dust Hole?" "Again, yes, but not well," said Sparks. "Yeah, that's the best way to know it," she said. "We're right in the centre. Dad's had an ironmonger's shop there for years, sells gadgets and repairs 'em. The repairs are what brings in the money, what there is. He's quite clever about machines and electrics and whatnot, and people out there need to keep things working rather than buy new ones." "And your mother?" asked Gwen. "She died when I was 13, said Miss Forsberg. "That's when the problems started. We live over the shop. Mum used to help him chat up the customers while he was fiddling with toasters and such in the back, then nip up top to do the cooking and housekeeping when there was a spare moment, so that became my job when we lost her. Dad pulled me out of school and I've been helping him ever since." "Why is he so eager to get you married now?" asked Mrs. Bainbridge. "He's met someone," said Miss Forsberg. "Rosie, just a few years older than me, but she's got her hooks into him good and wants her own family. And there's not that much room over the shop, so he wants me to move out by marrying me off. But I've never had the time for boys while running the place, and the men he's tried to fob me off on are all twice my age. So here we are." "Here we are," said Sparks. "Let's get a few more basics, then we'll get down to the serious questions. Religion? C of E. We never miss a Sunday, and Dad never fails to fall asleep when the sermon starts. Your age? 23. No schooling past 13? Some correspondence courses," she said, "and I read at night once he's fed and the dishes are done. Do you smoke? Drink? No to the first, and I'm not a teetotaler, but I'm not one for getting too tipsy," she said. "I have to stay clear-headed enough to help him get home most nights. Rosie can take over that job with my blessings." "Right," said Sparks. She put her pen down then looked directly at her. "What are you looking for in a man?" "Oh, God."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?